っていうのも、ほら、さっきセムさん言ってたでしょ？次の映画は満州が舞台だって。
満州、そうだ。
ありがとう、千代国。
When Millennium Actress premiered at film festivals in the United States, it received almost universal acclaim from critics. As is typical of films by Satoshi Kon, Millennium Actress is full of the kind of reality-bending visuals and dramatic edits that catch the critics' eyes. Because these visuals have been so influential, affecting well-known directors such as Darren Aronofsky and Christopher Nolan, it can be easy to think of these visuals as the whole. However, while it may be easy to dismiss the film as simply an exciting visual exercise, I would argue that the way the film is constructed through its clever editing is what allows it to effectively communicate a deeper theme. Millennium Actress explores the dual realities of both the on-screen and off-screen life of its main character, Chiyoko, as she pursues a man she met when she was a child. The film constantly switches between reality and fiction. However, there is a constant emotional reality that threads through the ever-changing backdrops. By the end of the film, we see that regardless of whether any of the things that Chiyoko experienced are literally real, the effect on her life was real. So, the film seems to say, the distinction between reality and fiction sometimes doesn't matter. One way of understanding art is to say that good art is like a conversation, that is, in the words of John Dewey, a continuous interchange and blending, and yet each speaker not only retains his own character, but manifests it more clearly than he otherwise would. As in Plato's dialogues, an idea becomes clearer for both participants in a conversation as it is allowed to bounce back and forth. Good art, then, could be understood to be like an extended and thoughtful conversation about an idea. By this measure, Millennium Actress is a fantastic film. There are a few specific scenes in the film that I think do a great job of showing how the film uses editing to stitch together this great conversation. The setup of this first scene is fairly straightforward. Chiyoko is talking with her mother about the various suitors she has turned down. It quickly changes to her defending her desire to continue pursuing a man that she met as a girl. Her mother accuses her of neglecting her duties to form a family. In a fashion typical of the movie, however, things are not exactly as they seem. Near the end of the discussion that Chiyoko is having with her mother, one of the cuts has her suddenly speaking with another actress, rather than her mother. This is a powerful use of editing, in that it stitches together the various sources of anxiety for Chiyoko in a smooth way. In fact, it is never really clear if she actually had this conversation with her mother, or if it was just a role. Chiyoko's marriage is another scene that shows an interesting melding of reality and fiction. At the beginning of the scene, Chiyoko tells the people that are interviewing her that she was married. The image we see of her marriage is just one black and white photo. The only sounds are distant cheering, as if someone in another building is getting married. We then cut to Chiyoko doing some chores one might expect a young married woman to do. As she is dusting a library, she uncovers a key that belongs to the man she had met as a child. Almost immediately after discovering the key, her husband walks in. When he sees the key, and realizes that she knows her marriage was essentially built on a lie, the sun turns off and we suddenly realize that we are in a studio. It's unclear why they are in a studio, since there is no filming going on. However, just like the conversation with her mother, the reality that affected her was an emotional one, so its literalness is essentially irrelevant. These last two scenes typify what I think is the strength of the movie. It is able to stitch together a series of surreal scenes that move between reality and fiction, all the while creating one cohesive emotional whole. A long conversation about how the distinction between fiction and reality sometimes does not matter. There are some other more flashy scenes in the movie, and there are many great subtle edits throughout. However, I think these slower scenes really typify what makes the movie as a whole so great, creating something that so closely resembles reality, and yet is clearly not. In some ways, it could be seen as a love letter to movies, or even stories in general, showing how they are an essential part of the way we as humans come to understand ourselves.